Look, the allegations in the Mueller report are based upon factual determinations. There is direct evidence that the president tried to interfere with an investigation. He's almost acknowledged that, except as to its conclusion. So there's clear evidence that has to be pursued. I think the way that Speaker Pelosi is going about it's the right way. She's allowing her committees to get as much of the information as possible before making a determination on articles of impeachment. The Constitution provides for the House to bring articles of impeachment. If that's done, it's like an indictment, and then the Senate stands as a jury to listen to the evidence. So I think members of the Senate have to be a little bit guarded as to a conclusion, because we should listen to the evidence and look at what articles of impeachment are brought by the House. We're restrained by the House. But I clearly believe the House must move forward with the inquiry, and that's what they're doing now. And how it will lead, we'll see. I would like to believe that whether it's a House member or a Senate member, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's a Republican, they would understand the constitutional responsibilities we have, not as a partisan, but as a member of Congress. This is the only check and balance you have on the President of the United States from the point of view of behavior that is against being President of the United States. So it's important that it be done in a nonpartisan way for the sake of the check and balances of our system. Oh, absolutely. I'll do everything I can to make sure we get full participation in the 2020 elections. So yes, we want to get everybody registered. We want to make sure people understand the importance of the 2020 election. We want to make sure people actually vote, both in the primary and the general. We want to get as wide a participation as possible. I think, quite frankly, President Trump has probably helped us in that regard, because he certainly, people recognize that there is going to be a choice in 2020. Do we want to continue with this type of leadership for our nation and global leadership, or do we want to see someone who is more responsible towards the Constitution and the restraints in the Constitution and the checks and balances, and some person who wants to lead the United States with the international community for peace and for global environmental issues, for issues concerning rogue countries? Shouldn't we be working in unity with like-minded countries? I think that's going to be the reason why we must get out the vote in 2020. Well, of course, we're several months away from deadlines on registration. So I think you usually see much of the push as we get close to the deadlines for an election. But we are, in regards to people who are getting driver's licenses for the first time, we're making a big push to make sure that they register at that time. There are a lot of different institutions that now have voter registration, so we're making a push in that regard. And my understanding is the voter registration numbers are increasing at pretty record pace. So there are people who are registering today. Well, this is something we're very concerned about. We know that Russia did interfere in our 2016 elections. They tried to do that in a way that would tilt the scale in favor of President Trump. We know that. That's in the Mueller report, chapter and verse. It was comprehensive, it was coordinated, it was very much done in a way to have an impact on our election. We also know through the intelligence community that Russia will be active again in 2020. But it will not be the only country active in trying to interfere in our elections. So it's not beyond Russia to try to directly interfere by dealing with the actual people who vote and counting the votes. So that's something we have to be prepared for. In Maryland, we have a record trail. We have a paper trail of the votes, so we can count the actual ballots. There are still several states that don't have that. That gives us a great deal of concern. Every state should, by 2020, have a paper trail on their campaign. So we hope that will in fact be what happens, so we can double check any vote that takes place. But we're naive to think that there won't be foreign entities who are going to try to mess with our voter count. You know, I am not. I listened to both debates, and Yes, there were attacks on records made by candidates, but there was no difference among any of the candidates as to our mission. Our mission, first and foremost, is to make sure Donald Trump is not reelected as president. Number two, it was to pursue universal health insurance, so every person in this country has affordable, quality health insurance. It was to reverse the president's policies on immigration, so that America stands for our values, that people that are in fear of their lives know that they'll will not be treated as criminals when they show up at our border. There was a common agreement that global climate change is real, and the president has to be a leader globally on dealing with this challenge to the future health of our planet. Mm-hmm. There was universal agreement that we have to do more on gun safety, including sensible gun safety legislation being passed by the Congress of the United States. There was universal agreement that the tax bill that the Republicans pushed through that helped mainly the wealthy and created huge deficits, that was wrong, and we should reverse those types of policies. Every one of our candidates agreed with those abiding principles. Yes, they have different views on how we get there, but that's fine. We want a broad tent among Democrats. So I thought it was a healthy debate, and we have a lot of people interested to be our nominee. I think that's exciting. There'll be a tremendous choice to the voters. And I'm just looking forward to next July when we nominate our candidate and we can get behind one person. Well, you're absolutely right. This president believes that he's not only the president of the United States for the executive branch of government, but he believes that we should get rid of the legislative and judicial branch of government, that he should be the full power of our government. The framers of our Constitution understood the importance of checking against the abuse of power by having separate branches of government and checks and balances in our system. Congress has passed laws on immigration. Admittedly, they need to be changed and improved. Our immigration system needs to be reformed in a comprehensive way. But the laws are the laws, and the asylum law is a universal commitment that we have, and the President of the United States cannot close our borders to those who are in genuine fear of their lives. That's an international obligation we have. So the people that are coming in at the border, and I saw that. I was in McAllen, Texas, just 2 weeks ago. And what I saw were desperate families trying to find a safe place for themselves. They were treated as criminals when they came in here. They're put in cages rather than allowing them to present their case in a way that we can determine what they're saying is true, and if it is, they should be welcomed here, but they shouldn't be treated as criminals. We asked the question, how many of them, when you vet, have criminal records or doing things? The overwhelming majority, 96%, clear immediately through this vetting process. They're not here to hurt us. They're here to help build a better country and a better lives for themselves. Damn, when I was in McAllen, I saw families that had been divided, and the court said, you can't do that. I asked the question, how can you do it? They didn't give me a good answer. Okay. We have legislation in Congress, I hope we pass, that enforces no separation of families at the border. I think Congress should speak to that. But in the meantime, the judge has spoken to it, and the president is not complying with the court order. That the first responsibility of the president of the United States is to carry out the laws of our country and to respect the judgments of our courts. President Trump is not doing that.